something I'll have to chase for a long, long time.
He knows, and I love that he's not shying away from that storyline. Ryan Clark, what is at stake for Patrick Mahomes on Sunday?
I mean, first of all, this is a compliment to Patrick Mahomes. The fact that people have built this game up as the GOAT and maybe a guy who possibly has an opportunity to one day surpass him in only his third year of starting, if that's Patrick Mahomes, it's a compliment to him. But it's also Patrick Mahomes telling the truth. This is like anybody who ever played basketball after the 90s who says that they enjoyed watching Michael Jordan play. They emulate what Michael Jordan was. They want to match the greatness that Michael Jordan displayed. That's who Tom Brady is to the sport of football. And so for Patrick Mahomes to get this opportunity to not only be in the same game as the greatest quarterback of all time, but have an opportunity to beat him, to put that on his resume, and already a resume that we already feel is better than we've ever seen from a 3-year starter, to have Tom Brady, to have that opposition, to have the opportunity to beat him. And if you have a ring over Tom Brady, I think he is well on his way to surpassing him if he continues on a trajectory that he's already on.
I agree with all of that. And yet, Dan Orlovsky, as you and I were talking about this morning before we came on the air, it's not Brady that Mahomes needs to worry about on Sunday. He is going to have his hands full considering his offensive line and the pass rush that Tampa Bay is going to bring.
Yeah, Green, I think first of all, people need to understand Kansas City's offensive line is not very good. And it's not because of a talent thing, it's just they've been decimated by injuries. Their offensive line has been suspect all year, and now both tackles have big-time issues. So we're really asking Patrick Mahomes to do kind of something that we know Tom Brady didn't do. That was win the Super Bowl when you know your offensive line is going to get dominated, right? Like that's the way that Tampa Bay's defensive line is going to look at going into this game. We're going to dominate this football game. Vita Vea and JPP and Shaq Barrett, I mean, William Golston, like those guys are going to dominate the football game. And so Patrick Mahomes, can you, like, to me, this has got to be his best game ever. It's going to be so hard. And Tom Brady, those Super Bowl losses that we often reference, how did Tom lose? Well, the front four got after him. The front four in Tampa Bay will get after Patrick. Will he kind of make another note in his legacy of, yeah, they did, and I still won? It gives him the chance to go chase greatness.
And that's an excellent point.
And
Mike Tannenbaum, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I'm saying, like that's what's crazy. Like when Patrick Mahomes, or if Patrick Mahomes wins this game, that's the backdrop to it. Not only was it against Tom Brady, not only was Tom Brady in his 10th Super Bowl, but you're playing against a team whose strength is now your weakness. And so if you overcome that, if you're able to win this game, it is about you. It is about your talent. It is about you and your obstacles and your adversity, overcoming those things, which Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a ton of. And so I think for him right now, this is the defining moment of Patrick Mahomes' career.
And exactly. And quickly, Mike T., I think the analogy to the 07 Patriots, the 18-0 team, which at that time was the greatest offense the NFL had ever seen, and they ran into the NASCAR package of that Giants defense, and they scored 10 points in the Super Bowl. That, I think, is the comparison to make here.
Yeah, no question about it. Again, this is an opportunity for Patrick Mahomes to show his greatness. It's also a glimpse into the future because as his contract gets bigger and bigger over the next couple of years, they're going to be playing with lower round draft choices and free agents on that offensive line. So if they could overcome that great pass rush of Tampa Bay with 5 backups, that will go to his greatness. And one other thing that bears noting, Bruce Arians could beat Patrick Mahomes by how he calls plays for Tom Brady. If they could stay balanced, that will limit Patrick Mahomes' opportunities, and that should be a big factor as well in the game.
Well, we got 6 more days to work towards this, Dan, I promise, and we will. Much more on this. What's at stake for Mahomes? Literally everything. Meanwhile, we are doing Super Bowl by NFL standards. So let me start, Ryan Clark, with you. Like, you're looking to pick out reasons beyond the quarterbacks for how this game gets decided. Some things are not excuses; they're reasons. How big a factor is the absence of Fisher to you on Super Sunday?
This is a big factor. This is a guy that was #1 overall pick. This is a dude that is talented, a linchpin to not only this offensive line, but this team. And he protects Patrick Mahomes in the place that all quarterbacks need to feel comfortable. And when you're going against JPP and Shaq Barrett, and you see the type of pressure that Todd Bowles likes to bring, this is extremely big missing piece for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes will have to account for that. Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy also. So some things are going to have to change schematically, but also with Patrick Mahomes and his execution of drop back passes and play actions. This is going to be a factor in this game. But if any team can overcome it, it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, we'll get to what Mahomes has to do in a second with Dan, but let me come back to you specifically. You say they need to change things schematically. Give me one thing they need to change schematically, Ryan Clark, as a result of losing the tackle.
I think this puts Travis Kelce in a different position. We like to get Travis Kelce split out. You like to see him move around, be in the slot, get the guy in motion. There's going to have to be some chips on that side. You're going to have to send running backs that way. And the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that likes to get everyone out in the route. But we've seen it with Le'Veon Bell. We've seen it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You've seen them stay in, get a chip, and then get into the pass route. But not having Travis Kelce be able to release automatically, not having Travis Kelce get into his route immediately, I think that will be a huge piece into ways they have to block Shaq Barrett and JPP, but that also hinders what he is in the pass game.
That's something very important to keep an eye on, giving you something to look for on Super Sunday. Are they having to use some of what would normally be weapons in their passing game to protect Mahomes, and what impact does that have? We'll get Dan Orlovsky back in a minute, just having a momentary technology issue. So, Tanbaum, let me come to you. Your thoughts on the Chiefs having to play this game without their starting left tackle? They're already without their right tackle, who got hurt during the year.
You know, Greeny, it's the definition of greatness. Earlier on, you know, we talked about Matt Stafford, whether or not he's great or not. I feel like he's not, because he never elevated the game around him when he had teammates that weren't just as good. That's why Patrick Mahomes is great, because he's a great decision maker, can get rid of the ball so fast. And if they win this game, his greatness will be that they're playing with basically 5 backup offensive linemen, including most notably their left tackle. So we could talk about his arm strength and everything else, but the fact that if they beat this great Tampa Bay pass rush, that's the definition of greatness, elevating everybody else around you.
Yeah, I mean, you see that note on the screen there. He played every snap this season with Mahomes until he got hurt in that game against Buffalo. So I use this phrase a lot. Some things are excuses, and other things are reasons. It's not an excuse. If Kansas City struggles offensively in the Super Bowl, it won't be an excuse to say they're playing without their tackles. It'll be a reason. And with that Todd Bowles defense, it could be a major factor. We were also having a little fun as we work our way towards the Super Bowl. RC, no one had more fun than you did on Media Day. Once upon a time, I want everyone to just feast their eyes. Ryan Clark, what were we doing here?
They were going around with the Troy Polamalu wig at Media Day, and so I finally got to get the wig. And, you know, I was probably less Troy Polamalu, more Eddie Murphy, Vampire in Brooklyn, but I enjoyed it. Listen, I always wanted to be Troy. I always wanted to get an opportunity to blitz. I always wanted to be the guy that could be free, that could roam. And so for about 10 minutes, I was Troy P. I mean, a lot less attractive with that hair. I definitely didn't get any Head and Shoulders commercials, but it was fun. Also, too, though, I don't understand why people ever want hair like that, because all I kept doing was moving the hair out of my face because it was uncomfortable. That let me know why Troy, other than when he plays football, always wore a bun.
Fair enough, but all kidding aside, these players aren't going to have that. No one's going to have it. We don't have a Super Bowl week, a Super Week this year, for all the obvious and understandable reasons. It's a pandemic, and you're not taking any chances with something like that. But do you feel the players are missing out on something? How important a part of the experience for you as a player was that?
Absolutely, Greeny. My first Super Bowl, Super Bowl 43, when we won, it was after a great season with #1 overall defense, and I'm walking out to go sit down and to go do, media day, and someone grabs me and says, you're at such and such podium. And I remember sitting down, and the first thing I said was, I got a podium. And that was a huge deal to me. And maybe it was a huge deal to me because I was an undrafted free agent, because I was a guy that had been cut, because I was a dude that a lot of teams picked other people over. That signified a moment for me that on two of the greatest teams, or the two best teams in football, with however many podiums there were for people to do media day, I was good enough to get one. I was good enough to experience that. I had people who stood in front of me and thought that the things that I had to say mattered about what was going to happen on Sunday. and it's getting on the bus to head to that event. And I think the one thing that the events do for the Super Bowl is they count down the days. Right, you know you're going to have media day, and then you're going to have the Wednesday practice, and then in Pittsburgh we had a walkthrough that was actually started by my son. I would bring him every Saturday to the games, to the walkthrough, and then more people started to bring their kids, and he became the babysitter because I started really early. My kid was kind of older than everybody else's, and so on the last Saturday before the Super Bowl, Coach Tomlin got buses, and everybody was able to bring 1 or 2 family members to that walkthrough, and that became something that the Pittsburgh Steelers not only did that year, but we did it against the Green Bay Packers as well.
It's a great story, and so much of this, look, the biggest event, the biggest opportunity, the lives of so many people, and we understand why these things can't happen this week. Players missing out, but they get a chance to play in the biggest game on Sunday. We have much more to go as we continue.